Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. And thank you for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja based event and wedding photographer Tavishima Ayede. So where are we? On the last episode, I think it was a rant on how not to look for customers, and today is going to be another semi rant. Okay, maybe not really a rant anyway. And hopefully, the person that this is about is not going to be listening to this podcast episode. So, one of my former brides reached out to me, and she sent me a message on Instagram. So, not on Instagram, on WhatsApp. Um, like most Nigerians do, after a while, you finish school, you get a spouse, you get married, you have a nice paying job. Eventually, you try to launch out and get that business venture going. And so she's now going to be a fishmonger. I believe that's what they're called, people who sell fish. And so she reached out, she hit me up. She has this fish for sale. Send pictures. It's real nice. But if you want it, we can give it to you at X amount instead of Y amount. And of course, I responded like, oh, thank you very much. God bless your hustle. But, I don't like fish. And Patience is the fish person. Patience is my wife. But right now she's in school. So maybe when she gets back, I'll send her the link so that she can have a look at your stuff. And that's pretty much how the interaction ended. Anyway, so it just got me thinking that the mistake that this bride of mine made is also a mistake that a couple of us make in the wedding event space. It's possible that we might not do this with our wedding businesses, but I'm aware that a couple of us have other hustles beside the wedding photography, the wedding planning, the wedding makeup artistry, the cake baking, and all that you're doing. So I know that we all have different side hustles. And so, if we're not making the mistakes in our wedding business currently, it's possible that we're making it in the other business. And so, one of them is to make the assumptions that the same person made that's in the previous episode. That's number one, to assume that people want what it is that you have. You're better off. You're better off asking questions to gauge the level of interest and to gauge the desire there, excuse me, rather than making an assumption that people indeed do want what it is that you are selling. So, let's say you're like our friend the bride, and as a side hustle to your wedding hustle, you want to become a fishmonger, then you don't just hit everybody up on your DMs or on WhatsApp saying, I've got fish for sale, and normally it's 98,000 naira, but if you get in now, we'll give it to you at 80k. So you don't just do that. First off, you try and spark a couple of conversations. Well, you're better off, I think you're even better off just asking the question straight up. Hey, Tavishima, how far? It's been a while. Do you like fish? Start the conversation from there. That will be an easier way to weed off those who are interested from those who are not interested. And you might be able to get some personal conversations going and some personal rapport going to make the sale of your fish a lot easier down the line if you were to start off that way than just making the assumption and then sending out that broadcast and then trying to sell your fish that way. So let's not make any assumptions. I know that in the wedding and the event space, it is hard to make assumptions because it's just the nature of our business, I guess, that we have to inquire expressly from the beginning that this person actually is looking for a wedding photographer or a wedding planner before we start having our sales conversations. So in your side hustles, if you want to become a fishmonger as well, ask, do not assume. Now the second thing, since she's coming into the business newly, we have a good relationship, but not good enough for me to start giving business advice yet. But for those of us who've been in the wedding and the event space for a while, maybe 5 years and above, I'm sure by now you already know that discounting, price dropping, those are not very promising ways, if I can put it that way, in the least. Those are not very promising ways of getting into the industry. So you don't just say, I have fish available for 100k, but if you buy now, I'll give it to you for 80k. Instead of pushing price, you're better off trying to argue value from the beginning. So I don't do commodities like fish, but I'm assuming that once you find out um, who are the fish lovers on your DMs or your WhatsApp, next thing would be to get a sense of their palate, because some people like dried fish, some people like boga fish, some people like all kinds of things. Like, even though I'm not a fish person, there's a kind of fish that I ate before that I liked. I can't remember if it was croaker or something like that. It tasted good. It was bearable, but I found out later on that it's like a high class kind of fish. So I can't remember what fish it is, but it's one of the expensive kinds of fish. And then I think it's ice fish. I'm not a fish eater, so please, for those of you who love fish, forgive me. So my assumption is, if I remember correctly, so you would have on one end croaker, shark, the expensive type, shark fin soup and all those, and then maybe on the lower end you have things like ice fish. So get a sense of where people's palates lie, and with that you'll be able to find out what it is that they actually value. So instead of saying we have fish for 100k, buy now, we'll give it to you for 80k. If the person has the much more expensive palates and he likes croaker and shark fin soup or whatever, then you should be making a value play accordingly, and money might not be such a big deal. But if the person is on the more pragmatic end, and it's just a matter of ice fish, and he or she wants 20 heads of ice fish so they can last for the month, so that they can feed their family or whatever, then maybe you can go into the price play. But the bottom line is, you don't just approach your hustle by using the price play straight out the gate. So you have to ask questions, find out who you're dealing with, find out what their interests are, get a sense of which end of the spectrum they are at, and then try to sell value accordingly. So if the person is ultra pragmatic and the person wants 20 heads of fish, and the person can't be bothered about what kind of ice fish it is, for them, Niger Delta ice fish is the same as ice fish from Denmark. There's no difference. Difference is basically the price. Then maybe you want to play the price game. But if you find them on the more pricey end of the spectrum, then money might not be that much of an issue. So now this is one sin I know for sure, that even if we do have side hustles to complement our wedding industry business, it still is a mistake that a couple of us make when coming into the wedding space. I mean, there are loads of photographers that I talk to who want to come in with this price angle to say, I'm coming into the business newly. I mean, when they talk to wedding planners, okay, I'm coming into this business newly, please refer me to your clients. The normal prices that photographers charge is 350k or 400k for 2 days, but because it's you and I'm hooking up I'm trying to hook you up with these good relationships, just tell all your clients that they should pay 150 or something like that. But bottom line, the price game, not a very sweet way to start off the business. Try and see if you can find much more value prone ways of getting into the business. So I think that's the case study for today, and I'll leave it at that. So thank you very much, guys, for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based event and wedding photographer. I will catch you guys at the next recording. I don't have my notes with me, so I'm not sure what exactly it is that we're going to be discussing tomorrow. But as usual, I will try to make sure that it is juicy, with lots of juicy tidbits and new perspectives for how we ought to go about running our business and making sure that our sales conversations with potential customers and with our repeat customers will make sure that our conversations are much more purposeful. Yeah, let's put it that way. Purposeful profits. Okay, so I'll catch you guys at the next recording.